All right, guys, welcome back to the E-Hunter podcast. Excited to bring another podcast to you guys today, whenever you're listening to this. I've got my co-host with me back on the podcast. It's been a minute, Seth. Where you been, dude?
You don't ever let me join anymore. I'm kind of like blacklisted, so I had to beg and plead to get on another podcast.
Truth be told, some of us do these podcasts during the day when people are awake rather than at night. And Seth, you never come on during the day. You're always too quote-unquote busy.
Yeah, I'm a vampire. I only stay up at night.
That's the only time you and I ever record podcasts.
Correct.
Oh, it's awesome. Oh, shoot. Well, before we jump into the podcast tonight, I'm sitting here looking at my my Vortex Razor HD Gen 2 scope on my Tikka, and oh my gosh, the thing looks amazing. So we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Vortex Optics. They sponsor everything that we do here at E-Hunter. So if you go on the website, we've got some links that'll take you to the website, to their website. But you can check out them on social media, Vortex Optics. If you search it, you'll find them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming up as well as it pertains to Vortex. And man, I'm spending a lot of time behind Vortex glass right now. I don't know about you, Seth, but I've spent a lot of time behind it.
Yeah, I'm putting the old Razor UHD 18 by 56s to some serious use.
Yeah.
Trying to find them desert bucks out west and locate one that's worth my efforts.
Cool thing. I was just thinking back to my scope here. Sorry, not to go away from the UHDs because they're amazing too. But I ordered something today. I ordered the. Have you seen the flip caps that Vortex has for your scopes?
I have not actually. I need to check that out.
Dude, they are the coolest flip caps. So I've always, in the past, I've always used like the mountain mics or whatever.
Butler Creek.
Butler Creek. That's what. That's right.
That's the ones I have.
Yeah, that's what I've always used. They're just like that rigid, hard plastic. Dude, you need to check out Vortex's flip because they're like a soft plastic, so like they can bend and but they're still rigid enough that they stay in place and do a really good job. And then also for like long range guns, the eyepiece one flips up either straight up or goes to a 45 or a complete 90, so it's out of your way. But if it goes straight up, you can put your dope chart in the cap so that you have it right there in front of you. You don't have to look on the side of your stock or on your phone or whatever. It's just right there in front of you. So I was just blown away. Sorry to go. We're already on a tangent here, but I ordered them today from Vortex, and man, I'm so excited. I watched some videos. Maybe I'd make our own E-Hunter video about them so that everybody can see it. But such cool things. So, also before we get into the podcast, what's going on? Anything that we need to talk about as it relates to E-Hunter? Any updates for everybody?
I've got a few different articles coming out. It's right in the thick of hunting, so you're definitely going to start seeing some more hunting stories and success stories and things like that. We also are always constantly keeping people up to date on news. And another one that's kind of been floating around our social medias is we're working with Henry Rifles on a few rifle reviews. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Taryn's got his own deal he's working on with them, and I'm working on one separate from him. So
yeah, make sure that you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Over the next couple of weeks, I already got them. They're in the queue and ready to publish. They'll automatically publish. But got some reviews on some products coming out on our YouTube page, and also doing an unboxing on a Henry rifle. Pretty excited about that. Those Henry rifles, by the way. That's okay. So before we hit record, like I said, I've got my Tikka here in front of me, and Seth was giving me crap about having a gun that's not made here in America. Ooh. But that is one thing that's cool about Henry. It is those guns are made here in America, and they are well made guns, man. They're well put together.
They are. And it was just friendly ribbing. I mean, I have a Franke shotgun, so.
Oh man, we're gonna really get into some rabbit holes here.
That's to say, I was just friendly jokes mostly.
That's right. Me and Monty, we rep the Tikkas. I've got, oh my goodness, how many do I have? I've got a few of them. My father-in-law has quite a few of them as well. So I love Tikkas. Such a sweet shooting gun for the price. I mean, you can get better shooting guns out there. You can go to Christensen's, you can go to Fierce, you can go to all these other places to get these amazing guns. But a box gun that shoots like that, it's pretty impressive. So, but anyways, guys, check out all of our stuff that we've got out there. Make sure you just touch base with our website, ehunter.com. All of our new podcasts will be up there. We'll try to keep the videos updated as well so that you guys can click right into those from our website, but you can also check it out on YouTube. So, all right, well, let's jump into what we're going to talk about on today's podcast. On our website recently, we published an article that talked about the top 4 states for archery mule deer hunting. We did it specific to mule deer, and a lot of people wonder, well, what about elk hunting? Well, be patient. We're gonna be putting these things out in the near future, but we wanted to kind of just talk about this because I know it's gonna be a little controversial. Everybody wants their own state to be on the list, but I feel pretty confident in our top 4 states, don't you?
I do, and as a prerequisite, it even states in the article that 17 states and upwards of 5 or 6 Canadian provinces offer mule deer hunting. So this was a bit of a pick and choose kind of come up with states that we felt emphasize that top billing for archery hunting.
But I want to hear from everybody because I'm sure there's people from those 17 states or those provinces in Canada that feel like their state is the best for bow hunting, for archery hunting. And so I want to hear. Leave us comments on the podcast or on social media and let us know why your state should have made the list if it didn't. And if yours did make the list, dude, let's celebrate that. Let us know where you're from and celebrate it. So we did this as part of kind of like a collaboration between us as the E-Hunter group, myself, Seth, Monty, and Curtis. Oddly enough, I guess Seth and I now live in the same state. I just recently moved to Utah. But oddly enough, the 4 of us have lived in different states for the last... Well, how long have you been with E-Hunter now, Seth?
Early 2020.
Okay, so year and a half-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last year and a half, we've lived in separate states, which is really odd for having this company together. But it made it kind of interesting because we saw things differently from different perspectives, which was wonderful for the content that we produce. And then as it comes to these kind of things, it definitely makes us look at states differently. And one thing that cracked me up was Curtis. Because Curtis doesn't, he lives in Arizona, but he wrote his about Nevada, saying that it's the better one.
Yeah, yep.
So I thought that was funny. But let's kind of run through these, Seth, really quick. And touch on why they are why we felt like they're the top ones. I'm going to start, and I'll start with Colorado because Colorado's where I have lived for the last 6 years. Like I said, I recently moved back to Utah, where I was born and raised. But Colorado presents some pretty interesting opportunities as it relates to archery hunting, and I guess opportunities where I should start with it because most people, there's a lot of people that come from all over the country and all over the world, in fact, to hunt Colorado. In fact, I just got off the phone with a friend of mine, Chad Fieber, and we were talking about where we elk hunt. And he says that he was talking to a guy in the area that does outfitting. He has guys coming from Germany and Canada to hunt with his outfit in Colorado this year. So people come from all over the world to hunt Colorado, and because there's great quality, but then there's also a lot of opportunities. So if you pick up a big game brochure, you can read through all the different things that you can do for hunting mule deer. I mean, I'm not even going to touch on all the rifle muzzleloader opportunities. Really, just archery alone, you can get OTC tags where you can hunt 2 different species of deer. I mean, you hunt mule deer or whitetail. I know we kind of tailor this towards mule deer, but you get over-the-counter tags to hunt both types of deer in Colorado with a bow, which is amazing. And then there's so many different units. If you've never looked at a map of Colorado when it's broke down into each different GMU or game management units, it's kind of staggering when you look at it because there are just so many. They're a little bit smaller than you'll see in other states, but with that many units, it gives that many more opportunities to hunt different units and hunt mule deer with a bow in those different units. So that was kind of the first thing that I wanted to touch on, was just the different opportunities that you have. if you can't hunt in September, well, there's opportunity to hunt in December with a bow in your hands. I mean, it's just so much opportunity in Colorado as it relates to hunting mule deer with a bow in your hands. The next thing that I touched on was the quality of animals there. Colorado is well known for the quality of mule deer. There are some better units in the state. We've listed them out. We've talked about them in the past. You can check out some of our previous articles or podcasts where we talk about some of those better units. But regardless of what unit you're in Colorado, I would say most of the units have the ability to produce large animals, mature animals, I should say. So, if you're looking for that 200 class mule deer, man, there's so many places in Colorado that you can find those. And so the quality of deer, whether it's an over-the-counter tag or whether it's one of those premium tags, you really have the opportunity and the chance of getting that big mature deer that you've been wanting to get your entire life. And then the last thing I'm going to just touch on is variety. And I already kind of mentioned this, but not only can you hunt mule deer with a bow in Colorado, but you can also hunt whitetail. And so you have a variety of deer that you can hunt with a bow, and then you also have a variety of terrain. So if you're a guy that likes to put on your backpack and hike a bunch of freaking miles in the mountain and just destroy yourself, which I am kind of like that at times, you can do that. I mean, you can hunt at 10 to 13,000 feet if you really want to do it, and it's tough hunting and it's hard and it's a blast. If you want to sit in the Razor and cruise the roads and hunt and spot and stalk that way, you can do that. If you want to hunt the plains, what I'm getting at is there's just a variety of different ways. So whatever kind of hunting style that you like, Colorado has that for you. And so I feel like I'm an infomercial right now, a commercial trying to sell Colorado, but I just wanted to explain, the different options and opportunities and some of the reasons to make Colorado so unique for hunting mule deer. Did I touch on everything, Seth?
I think you covered it pretty well, and I will agree with Taryn. If your goal going into a place is you want to get an archery tag and you want to go hunt deer and maybe stumble into a Pope and Young class mule deer, literally, I would say basically every single unit in Colorado gives you a chance at a Pope and Young mule deer.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely. Some of the plains units maybe not. Oh, yeah, actually, they even do too. Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Most units will give you that.
Yeah, and I agree. The plains kind of are forgotten because it's difficult access, and you may need to talk to a landowner. But when access is difficult, typically those bucks get an older age class because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of Colorado. And I shouldn't say this because I hunt Colorado every year for mule deer. And not that I want any more competition in the state, but just trying to be real with you guys. Exactly what Seth said. If you want opportunity and that chance that you can stumble on that big buck, no better place than Colorado. All right, Seth. So how about we jump to Utah, since you and I both live here, but it's kind of been your baby for the last little bit. You want to talk about Utah and why it's so awesome for mule deer with a bow?
Yeah. So I jumped into it looking at why is Utah a top state, and there's many variables, right? Taryn's covered some of his. One of the bigger variables when you say something like a top state, you still have to talk about trophy quality. And over the last couple decades, Utah has only trailed behind Colorado, and I believe Alberta or Saskatchewan, easy for me to say. One of those two provinces outdoes Utah. But other than that, no other western state or mule deer state has produced more trophy mule deer. Now, that does come on a lot of the limited entry or more difficult units to draw. But with that being said, every single year, Pope and Young and even Boone and Crockett type mule deer are being taken on general season units, and even our very well known extended archery units that let you hunt late into the year. You can hunt that with pretty much any archery deer tag. You get an archery deer tag, and once the extended dates start, you can go hunt that unit. Another reason I went with Utah is kind of similar to to Terrans is the overall terrain and the style of hunting you want to do. You can find it in Utah. We have tons of high desert areas where you can, hunt those big bucks in the sagebrush or the sagebrush steppe habitat, whatever you want to call it. They have high country hunts in the Uintas or along the Wasatch Range. You can hunt the Mesa country down south, Red Rock, stuff like that. And then just your typical Rocky Mountain habitat throughout much of it. Much of the state is there as well. And so with those two aspects, you're covering basically any kind of bow hunter, how he wants to hunt. He has an option to pick and choose. The state does a decent job of straddling trophy quality and opportunity. There is no true OTC permits on mule deer, but there are units and places where you can get a tag with very minimal points to draw into the state. The other point I really hammered home was we just wanted to give kind of a general feel of Utah. Obviously, I kind of covered it, but two of our biggest units are going to be your big time point producers or mule deer producers, but you're going to be waiting a long time. Typically, most archery hunters in Utah, spot and stock is your bread and butter. If that's what you're looking to hunt, that style, that's Utah for you. But I've also seen quite a bit of success with sitting water and hunting bucks off of water as they come to get a drink. And even if you can find natural food sources or get permission from a landowner, you can hunt them coming into food sources. So overall, if you're looking for same kind of thing as Colorado, if you're looking for a Pope and Young type deer, there are a lot of different options to pick over when it comes to Utah, and we have the trophy harvest to back it up.
The advantage that people have as non-residents is they can put in for every limited entry hunt in Utah, whereas residents have to pick which limited entry species they're going to hunt. And so if you're a non-resident, man, put in for everything. Because like Seth said, some of these do take a lot of points. I mean, if you're trying to hunt a Ponsegont or a Henry's or whatever, yeah, it's going to take you a long time to get that. But, I mean, if you're buying the combination license here in Utah, you might as well be putting in for everything. I think it's an extra $10 per species that you apply for. So, be building points in all those things, all those animals, and like Seth said, when you do draw that limited entry mule deer tag here in Utah, you're gonna come home with a monster. And, but there's also other opportunities to hunt mule deer. You can do general season hunts, which you talked about, Seth. And if anybody wants to look at some pictures of general season bucks taken here in Utah, go check out my friend's outfitting company. It's called Mountain Outfitters. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Mountain Outfitters. And they've gotten some big bucks just on general units. So really cool opportunity there. Plus you have the dedicated hunter program. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities here as well that allow people to hunt with mule deer with a bow quite frequently. How many points does it take to draw a general season archery tag as a non-resident? Do you know?
Probably depends on. I guess we should pick which unit, but like the unit I hunt's not like a super, well-known big unit, and I think it takes 2 or 3.
Oh, okay.
So
that's really. I think that's the same in the unit that I hunt here in Utah. I think it's maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5, but in that area. So as residents, that's another cool thing. Is archery still kind of where you can draw? Maybe not every year, but every other year, at the most every third year, you can draw those general tags. So just gives you that opportunity to hunt more.
Yeah, and like I say, I'm not bragging. I'm not the greatest hunter ever, but the unit I hunt is not considered a big buck unit. But out of the last 5 or 6 years, I've drawn an archery tag every year. I'm dedicated now, but up until I went dedicated, I had an archery tag every year, and the majority of those years, I chased bucks that I either took a buck or chased bucks that would have been Pope and Young or better.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. All right. Well, the other two states that we put on here, they were the ones that Monty and Curtis focused on, but two other states that are well known for mule deer. I'll touch on the Wyoming one, just because I've spent a little bit of time in Wyoming and have seen some of these bucks. I mean, guys, I think y'all know if you follow our page, you'll see the Legends Never Die series. Most of those are those old school mule deer that are just giants. Popeye, Morty, Scar, these big bucks from the past. Well, those are cool big bucks, but there's still big bucks like that in Wyoming. So that's one thing that Wyoming is very well known for, is its big bucks. Reason being, I mean, it has the terrain, it has the landscape to have these big bucks. Big migration corridors that go through the state. We've had a lot of articles posted on our website about those migration corridors. The thing about it is, there's not mule deer all over the state. They're definitely in certain areas. But I mean, if you're in those areas, you're going to see some huge mule deer. The quality is unbelievable up there. We're lucky enough to have Monty Miles on our team, and he's been a wildlife photographer for a very long time, and he sends us pictures every year. And if you check out the article, you'll see it. I mean, the featured image on the article is one of his, and that was taken just this past year. So those big bucks are still there. They're still I'm not gonna say they're all over the place, but you'll see them fairly often during those migration times. So it's a really cool state. If you can get an archery tag for the state, you'll have a good time. He does some cool stuff in the article. He does some unit breakdowns and things like that. So check out the article to get in the nitty gritty of kind of where to hunt, where to see these mule deer. But yeah, if you're a mule deer hunter and you like to hunt mule deer with archery, Wyoming definitely needs to be on your hit list.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Wyoming is basically you draw the deer tag, and then you just go and purchase an archery permit, and as long as an archery permit is offered for the unit you have drawn, you get to hunt the whole. I think most of their seasons are a month long.
Yeah,
you get to hunt that whole month for whatever unit you drew, and so you can pick and choose. There's not a true archery permit only, except on a certain couple units, but you can pick whichever region or whichever subunit you want to go to, buy that archery permit, and you're good to go. There's not really a draw aspect to archery. As long as you can get the permit, you can get an archery permit a lot of the time and go. So.
And they've got some large GMUs up there too. I was talking in Colorado how they're small, and so it creates more opportunity. But if you do get that archery tag, I mean, you got a big geographical area in Wyoming that you're going to be able to hunt. So you get that whole month to hunt. You can cover a lot of territory, cover the numbers, and see a lot of big mule deer. So
yeah, especially if you draw the region, Wyoming's a little trickier because certain units you have to draw just the GMU, whereas other units are combined into kind of a region. So yeah, if you draw like, I don't know, one of the numbered regions up there may be 5 or 6 or 8 general season units that you have access or permission, I guess, or however you want to say, legal permit to hunt any one of those units.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It definitely needs to be on everybody's hit list for if you're mule deer hunting. So the last one we put on the list, Seth, was Nevada. I've never hunted Nevada with a bow. Have you?
No, I'm buying points.
I am too.
Just that, but no, I have not.
That's one of the things about Nevada. It's a little, and actually a lot of these western states are this way. Arizona, you got to buy the hunting license, and then put in. So every year you're basically spending close to $200 just to put in for the hunt. But with that being said, it's worth it. I mean, Nevada's got some. I know we keep talking about these trophy class mule deer in all these other states, but man, I've spent a lot of time in Nevada. My family's got a big ranch out there north of Ely in one of the better units for both mule deer and elk. And I mean, goodness gracious, guys, some of the mule deer out there are just ginormous. So it's a different kind of hunting, though. And you kind of touched on it in Utah. In Utah you can hunt over water and do a lot of spot and stock. I think it's similar in Nevada, don't you think?
Yeah, and the big thing with Nevada is the large majority of that state, you're going to be hunting kind of like western Utah. You're going to be hunting high desert country or sagebrush steppe country. Um, and then some of it you're getting way up there. You're 10 or 12,000 feet up on these mountain ranges, but it's so deserty. It's not like your typical high country hunt in Colorado. I mean, you're still above timberline, but it's a lot of sage and a lot of stunted junipers and mahoganies and stuff like that. Um, but it ends up creating. I guess the biggest thing you can say about Nevada is it is a little almost under the radar.
Hmm.
They take probably the least amount of mule deer of the other three states we talked about. They probably take the least, but I mean, you can go on Pope and Young and look at the records from Nevada. I mean, they shoot a ton of record book Pope and Young deer. I mean, I think the New World records from Nevada,
Hmm.
the typical. And I mean, our buddy Curtis. I mean, he took a beautiful buck a couple years ago from there, and chased and has chased a number of deer every couple years when he draws the permit. And he's by no means hunting one of these super great top of the line quote unquote best units. So
Yeah, that's the thing is he's hunting units that you can hunt every 2 or 3 years, which is cool about Nevada. I think some people need to look into that because it's, we always look for opportunities to hunt and get as many tags in our pocket as we can. And so if you have a place that you can hunt every 2 to 3 years, I mean that's awesome. And like you said, Curtis shot he took a really nice 3x4 a couple of years ago. Um, no Pope and Young, but still a really
really
nice
nice
buck.
buck.
And there's
Yep.
a reason that Pope and Young, where they have their one of their biggest conventions, is Reno, Nevada. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of big animals taken with a bow in Nevada. Like you said, Seth, it may not have the number of animals killed every year like a Colorado does. I mean, Colorado, if you look at the number of mule deer taken every year with a bow, it's astronomical. Nevada is a whole lot lower on that percentage than what Colorado is, but the quality that you're going to get in Nevada is pretty amazing. It's yeah, it has kind of flown under the radar, I think, for a lot of people. But if you like spot and stalk, if you like sit in water, if you just like hunting mule deer with a bow, Nevada definitely should be on the list.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the beauty is, we kind of talked about terrain in some of these other states. It is a lot different from each part of the state. Where I guess we could say the same thing to an extent with Nevada. If you get real far over onto the east side, you're going to be hunting more of that Sierra Nevada range, and that's going to be more of your typical mountain range hunting. But a large majority of that state's going to be that high desert stuff. And then if you get way down south, I mean, there are opportunities. You're literally hunting mule deer in the sand. I mean, they're down in that low country. A lot less deer down there, but there are some big bucks that call those places home.
We'll give people a little bit of a recommendation when it comes to hunting mule deer in Nevada or even Utah, especially southern Utah. Make sure you have some good heat gear, that those very thin layers that these companies make, because man, it gets hot. When I'm hunting mule deer, man, I sweat like crazy. It's such a hot time of year to be putting mile after mile in the mountains, but man, it's so fun.
Yeah, lots of water and good cool gear.
Yeah.
We'll save you a lot of heartache.
Oh
So,
man, ain't that the truth? If you have any questions about how sweaty you get, just go look at Curtis's e-hunter hat that he wore on that hunt. I don't know if you ever saw that, Seth, but it was disgusting. It was just absolutely nasty.
crusty. I need a new one too. This
uh,
this year this year. Even it's been a little cooler in Utah, but boy, it starts to get about 11 or 12 o'clock, and you are headed for shade in a hurry out in the desert country that I've been hunting. So,
oh yeah, you get those sweat rings going on pretty quickly hunting mule deer.
yep.
So cool. Well, we just wanted to kind of touch on those 4 states for everybody. We felt like they were the top 4 mule deer states for hunting with a bow. If you're from South Dakota, if you're from North Dakota, Oregon, let us know your thoughts on why you feel like your state should have been on the list. But any other states that you may have put on that list, Seth?
I heavily thought about Arizona just because of the history. I mean, everybody knows the Kaibab and the Arizona Strip. Um, and they have some unique opportunities with the archery mule deer hunting. They're kind of changing some things up lately. I did think about Arizona, and then, like I say, it's always hard to leave states off like New Mexico, and even had Montana and Idaho that are near us. We've had some. I've had a little experience there. Curtis has had a little experience there, and even you talk to guys, and I've spent time in the Dakotas. You talk to guys in the Dakotas, and they wouldn't pick any other place in the world to hunt mule deer. So it's a tricky subject, and there's so many states that you could pick and choose from. But I feel like these four are a really good group of four that are pretty hard to beat as a collection.
Yeah, if you want to see a South Dakota buck, check out our article on this. Cole Sycophus shot a sweet buck in South Dakota, and we put a picture of it up on the article. So yeah, it is hard to narrow it down to 4 states. I mean, all of them have their perks. Like you said, New Mexico, Arizona, South Dakota, Oregon, they all have their perks. Even California, there's different things. But we feel like if you're big into archery hunting, or want to be into archery hunting and thinking where you should start, we feel like these 4 states really have really what it takes if you're wanting to get into it. So check out the article. We kind of just did a high-level overview of it on the podcast, but we kind of get into some more nitty-gritty. There's pictures and maps and things like that on the article for you to check out, season dates, whatnot. So go on there. If you guys have any more questions, let us know. We'd be happy to answer any questions about these states. The great thing about it, like I mentioned in the beginning, each of us have lived in these states and have hunted them, know them very well, and so for the most part we can answer the questions as it relates to each of these states. If we can't, we'll definitely find that answer for you. But yeah, give them a try. Before we let you go, though, guys, make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast. We would really appreciate it if you would go on and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. The more likes and reviews that we get on there, it puts us higher up on the list for listening. So when people search hunting podcasts, we pull up further up on the list. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. We appreciate all the support that you guys give us here at eHunter. And again, just another shout out and plug. Check us out on YouTube, social medias, including TikTok. Seth is blowing up TikTok, so go check it out.
I don't know if I'm blowing it up, but
I think you got like 3 videos on there. So
I think I have 3. You have 3.
We're not quite the TikTokers yet that we that these millennials are, but hey, we're getting there.
It's got a weird algorithm, man. I post one that thinks going to be really good, and nothing happens, and then just a kind of an entry-level normal one blows up a little bit for us, and so we're figuring it out slowly but surely.
Yeah, we're just having fun. Honestly, this is fun for us. We're enjoying doing this. Hopefully, you guys are finding this as a resource for you. If there's anything that you guys would like to see us do more of, or do better at, or just be able to improve upon, we welcome that criticism. Let us know. We'd be happy to apply it to what we're doing here at eHunter. So.
And if you guys have any questions on hunts or hunting the West, if you're an Eastern guy or even a Western guy that's never hunted another state, and any of these 4 or anything comes up, reach out. I mean, we're more than willing to do some talking to you and say, hey, this is what you got to do to get set up, and these are the areas you might want to look into, depending on what your point, how many you've got points, and what you're thinking of the hunt style you want to go to. So
yeah, definitely reach out, ask questions, let us know. So
yep.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoy the podcast. We will be back next week with another one for you, but appreciate you guys, and good luck on your hunts this year. See ya.
See you guys.